Welcome to the Keyport Maker Series, where we design, build, and hack EDC gear. In our last video, we made an insert for the Keyport pivot, and today we're going to make an insert for the Keyport slide. In our first Maker Series video right here, I explained how you can design tools for your EDC without any CAD experience or tools. So if you're a beginner, you're going to want to watch that video. This tutorial will be a little bit more advanced. We will still be using Fusion 360 to design an insert for the Keyport slide. Okay, let's build it. Okay, I've got this file open in Fusion 360 and it is a new file as of a few days ago. Maker Insert Slide Rev 1. If you have Rev 0, make sure you go to the Keyport website and download revision 1. I made a bunch of improvements that are going to make it a lot easier on you to design slide inserts. So today we're going to design a file with some tweezers. So I'm just going to inset some sandpaper into the side here to be used as a nail file. And then we're going to cut a hole all the way through here and put in some tweezers. They're actually Swiss Army Knife Tweezers I got from Amazon in a 5-pack, and the link is down below in the description if you want to get the same product. Just remember, Fusion 360 isn't the software I typically use. I use SolidWorks. So I've already designed this part in SolidWorks, and I'm going to copy my design into Fusion 360 because Fusion 360 is free, as we went over in the first video, and you can get it and use it at no charge, and it's easy to learn. So first thing we want to do here is click on this face. We're going to cut a hole all the way down here for our tweezers. So if you click on the face, right click and hit create sketch, it's going to align this face right at us, and I'm just going to draw a rectangle right here on the front. Now I want to center this rectangle. So the easiest way to center something in any design software is to use relations. And up here, these red icons are all sketch relations, and the one we're going to use is symmetry. So instead of trying to do all the math to get this centered on the part, we're going to do this the easy way, and we're just going to draw a center line. And you can see as I move the cursor, it changes from this X with a square to just an open X, and that's because I'm right on the center line of the part here. So I'm going to draw this line right here on the center line, and then I'm going to escape out of that, click on the line, and over here you can do a line type construction or center line. We're going to choose center line. And now I've got these two sections separated, but they're perfectly symmetrical. Okay, so now I'm going to come up here to the symmetry icon, click on that, and click the two outer lines of the actual part. And then when I click this center line of the new geometry, it's going to put this whole rectangle right in the center of my part, just like that. And you can see the symmetry icons. And now to get this rectangle right where I need it, I'm going to use the dimension tool. And from the bottom here, we're going to do 0.6 millimeters. And this thing is going to be 1.4 tall. And then one more dimension for the actual width of this, and this is going to be 3.15. Okay, so now I've got this, you can see all the lines are now black, which means it's fully defined. And now we can cut this all the way back using the push-pull tool. So I'm going to go over here to solid, press pull, and I'm going to click on both of these. And then we're going to do 47 millimeters is how far I want to cut. And as you can see, it's going the wrong way. So over here in the dialog box, you're just going to click the negative sign, put a negative on it, and see now it's cutting into the part, and that's what we want. So click OK, and now we've got our cavity cut right down the middle of the part. Now the next thing we want to do is cut out the top here for the handle of the tweezers. So I'm going to rotate this up so I can see in there, and I'm going to click on this plane right there, create sketch, and now I'm going to draw a rectangle from here back to the edge of the inside of this part. And now the only thing we need to do, because it's touching both of these edges, I need to dimension from the front to the back here, and this is going to be 3.5. And now I'm going to go back to the press pull tool again, and we're going to cut this thing all the way through. So over here it says from the profile plane, and we want it to cut all, but not in this direction. So I'm just going to click the flip tool, and it's going to cut the top right out of there. And now I have a hole on the top for the handle of my tweezers. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a little cavity on the top of the part for our sandpaper. So if we flip this over, you can see I have a line right here, and this is very important, this line, because you don't want to do anything back here in this, what we call the skull area. If you look at a Keyport blade, the skull is this size, and that allows it to slide well in the actual port of the Keyport itself, of the Keyport Slide. And if you go inside of here, then whatever's going to be in here is going to be hidden when you actually deploy the part, when you slide it out. So you want to keep your design from this line over, and you also don't want to make this any bigger than it is. So we don't want to drag this and make this bigger or make this taller, because then it will not slide in the port. You can do anything you want to make everything here smaller and cut away at it, but you never want to make it bigger, or else you're going to have a big problem. So I am going to cut a big rectangle into this so that I can mount the sandpaper. So I'm going to right click, create sketch, and then I'm going to go to the rectangle tool again here, and we're going to just draw a random rectangle there. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to draw a line right down the center, and then I'm going to click the line and call it a center line. And then I'm going to go back to the symmetry tool, click the two outer edges of the part, and that center line I just did, and then that's putting it right in the middle there. So for my overall cavity length, we're going to do 46.5, and then from this front edge to the front of the part, this is going to be 4.7, and then the total width of this is going to be 9.6. And there we go. Now I'm going to use the press pull tool again, click on both of these rectangles, and then we're going to cut into this 0.5 millimeters. And once again, it's going the wrong direction. Put a negative sign right here, click OK, and now see I just cut a big cavity right into the top there. And if you flip it over, you can see that I have not gone past this line on this side. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is whittle away at this piece a little bit more to make it so it fits the handle and snaps in there. So I'm going to click on this and create a sketch, and then I'm going to draw a rectangle from this line all the way over to this line, and then I'm going to dimension this 0.2 millimeters. And then we're going to cut this out using the press pull tool once again. This tiny rectangle right there, we're going to make this go back 5 millimeters. So you can see the arrow already. I'm just going to do the negative to start here. We're going to do -5, and it's going to cut right back into there. Okay, if I rotate this now, you can see that I have cut that tiny little feature in there, and without that, the handle of the tweezers will not fit into the little cavity. And if you make it too big, then it's just too loose, the spring of the tweezers themselves doesn't hold as well if this cavity is too big. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is make a fillet right here on the front to match the fillet that's on the actual tweezer handle. So this is going to be a 2mm fillet. Click OK. I'm just going to click the fillet tool again, and we're going to do around all the perimeter lines. We're going to do 0.4mm. And if you click Command on a Mac and probably Control on your PC, you can see a preview, and it comes and goes as you click the button. And then we need to do these lines as well on both sides there. So we'll click OK. And now you can see I've got this fillet running all the way around the entire part. And so this is just going to make it slide a lot better in the port of the Keyport Slide to have fillets around the edges of the skull. It makes it a little bit more ergonomic when you touch it. It doesn't have any sharp edges. So now what we want to do is make a chamfer around the perimeter of this to make it easier to grab the handle of the tweezers. So if you go to Modify and then Chamfer, and then it's very similar to making a fillet. It just has angles instead of rounded edges. So I'm going to make this 0.5, and same thing, I can toggle it back and forth, but that is what I want. And then these are 45-degree angles, and I want to round those off. So I'm just going to make tiny little fillets on all these outer edges to make it a little more comfortable. And we're going to make this, let's try 0.5. There we go. So now this file is done and we are ready to print. So I haven't even saved it yet, but I'm going to save this as tweezer insert. And then we're going to export it as a .stl file so we can 3D print it. Okay, I got my file imported into Prusa Slicer. This is the type of 3D printer I'm using, but whatever software you're using for your printer, when you position it on the table, you're going to want it positioned just like this so that the cavity for the sandpaper is up. So everything else here looks good. I can change my infill. Let's go with 50%. I'm doing 0.1mm detail, and I'm just going to go ahead and slice it, and that's what my print is going to look like. And I'm just going to export it now to my printer. All right, let's check the part. First thing you want to do when your part comes off the printer is check the node. Make sure the node goes in and springs freely, and you can make sure on both sides. So you don't want it to be getting stuck, and you want to make sure it goes all the way down and comes all the way back up. After that, you want to insert it into the slide and make sure that it slides properly. So I'm going to install it in my slide. And then just slide it back and forth a couple of times and make sure it slides properly and slides freely. If it doesn't slide properly and it's getting stuck or something like that, you might want to try a different setting with your printer. Try a finer setting, maybe even a different material, and try to get it to where it slides really nicely like this. Then finally, the last thing we want to check is that the tweezers go in properly and they kind of stick in there and they're not protruding off the top, and they come out. Also, you can slide it in, and as you can see, it's right up at the very edge of the bezel. It's the maximum length that it could be without sticking out. I'll be using 500 grit sandpaper for my file. To secure the sandpaper into the part, I'm using this 3M tissue tape 9448A. I'll link it down in the description. My cavity is about 9.5 by 45. So I'm gonna put the tissue tape down first. Alright, now I've got the sandpaper set into my cavity and it's below the surface of this edge. You want to make sure it's below the surface, or else if it's raised up, it's gonna sand the inside of your port and it's not gonna slide well in your slide. So I'm gonna now install this. And there it is. We just created our first slide insert. Alright, that's a wrap on this tutorial. All the files you need are down below in the description. If there's something you'd like me to design in a future video, please leave a comment down below and I will see you on the next one.